Pablo Escobar was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people, including politicians, judges, journalists, and innocent civilians. He saw violence as a means to an end, and was willing to kill anyone who stood in his way. He ordered numerous bombings, assassinations, and mass killings, and often used terror to intimidate those who opposed him. His brutal tactics earned him a reputation as one of the most ruthless drug lords in history, and his legacy of violence is still felt in Colombia today. He was once listed as the 7th richest person in the world, with a net worth of over $30 billion. Despite his massive wealth, he was known for his frugal lifestyle, often wearing the same clothes for weeks on end and living in modest houses. He saw money as a tool to achieve his goals, rather than an end in itself, and used his wealth to bribe officials, fund his criminal activities, and buy the loyalty of his followers. He had a fleet of planes, helicopters, and submarines that he used to smuggle cocaine into the United States and other countries. He was constantly looking for new ways to transport his drugs, and was not afraid to use unconventional methods to evade law enforcement. He even had a team of engineers who designed custom-built submarines to transport cocaine across the ocean. He offered to pay off Colombia's national debt in exchange for immunity from prosecution, which was rejected by the government. Escobar saw himself as a Robin Hood figure, fighting against an unjust system that oppressed the poor. He believed that he could use his wealth and influence to change the system from within, and was willing to make grand gestures to achieve his goals. He ordered the bombing of Avianca Flight 203, killing all 107 passengers and crew members on board. Escobar saw the bombing as a way to send a message to the Colombian government, which he believed was working with the United States to extradite him to face drug charges. The attack was one of the deadliest acts of aviation terrorism in history, and Escobar was widely condemned for the senseless loss of innocent life. He had a pet hippopotamus named Cocaine that he kept on his estate in Medellin, Colombia. Escobar was known for his eccentricities, and his pet hippo was just one of many unusual things about him. He also had a private zoo, complete with lions, giraffes, and other exotic animals, and often gave away expensive gifts to those he wanted to impress. He was responsible for the creation of the Medellin cartel, which at its peak controlled 80% of the cocaine entering the United States. The cartel was a complex web of drug traffickers, corrupt officials, and violent enforcers, and was responsible for a significant portion of the violence and corruption that plagued Colombia in the 1980s and early 1990s. Escobar was the de facto leader of the cartel, and used his power to control every aspect of the cocaine trade, from production to distribution. He ordered the assassination of Colombian presidential candidate Luis Carlos Galán in 1989. Galán was a popular and charismatic politician who had promised to crack down on drug trafficking if elected. Escobar saw him as a threat to his power, and ordered his assassination in broad daylight during a campaign rally. The killing shocked the country and galvanized public opinion against Escobar and his cartel. He reportedly burned $2 million in cash to keep his daughter warm while they were on the run from authorities. In the early 1990s, Escobar went into hiding after the Colombian government declared war on his cartel. He spent months evading capture, moving from safe house to safe house with his family. At one point, they were forced to flee into the jungle, where they faced freezing temperatures. Escobar burned stacks of cash to start a fire and keep his daughter warm, demonstrating the extremes to which he would go to protect his family. He once had a death toll board installed in his office to keep track of the number of people he had killed. The board included a tally of the total number of deaths, as well as a breakdown by category, such as police officers and competitors. The board was a chilling reminder of Escobar's ruthless tactics and his willingness to use violence to achieve his goals. He offered a $1 million bounty on the head of each police officer who tried to arrest him. Escobar saw the police as his main enemy, and was determined to eliminate anyone who tried to bring him to justice. He put out a public call for his followers to kill police officers, and offered a substantial reward for each successful hit. The bounty led to a wave of violence against law enforcement, with dozens of officers being killed in the line of duty. He had a network of underground tunnels and safe houses that he used to evade law enforcement. Escobar was a master of disguise and deception, and he went to great lengths to hide from the authorities. He had a team of engineers who built a network of tunnels under his houses, allowing him to escape quickly in case of a raid. He also had multiple safe houses scattered throughout the country, where he could hide out for days or weeks at a time. He was responsible for the murder of at least 2 American citizens, including a DEA agent named Kiki Camarena. Camarena was working undercover in Mexico when he was kidnapped, tortured, and killed by members of the Guadalajara cartel, which was affiliated with Escobar's Medellin cartel. The murder caused a major rift between the United States and Mexico, and led to a renewed crackdown on drug trafficking. He was known for his brutal treatment of his enemies and rivals, including his own employees. Escobar had a code of honor among his followers, which demanded absolute loyalty and obedience. Those who crossed him or failed him in any way were subject to brutal punishment, including torture and death. He once ordered the killing of more than 200 people who worked for a rival cartel, and was known to be especially brutal to those who betrayed him. He was shot and killed by Colombian police in 1993, ending his reign as one of the most notorious drug lords in history. After years on the run, Escobar was finally located by a special police unit in Medellin. On December 2, 1993, he was shot and killed while trying to escape on the rooftop of a safe house. His death was a major victory for the Colombian government, which had been struggling to bring him to justice for years. However, it also marked the beginning of a new era of violence and instability in the country, as rival drug cartels fought for control of the cocaine trade.